Welcome back to the stage Rightside. I just got back from tour in Kennedy Center, DC. Oh my God. Let me try that again. Welcome back to the stage Rightside. I just got back from a tour to Washington, D.C., where ABT performed at the Kennedy Center. And oh, good Lord, what a week. I mean, I don't know if you've been following the news, but oh man, it was wild out there. It was wild. I really, first of all, want to say that I feel so deeply for the folks at the Kennedy Center, who many of them are fearing for their jobs and their positions, and I don't know, it just seems awful. Yeah, so Trump, I don't know if you've heard of him, was elected by the board of the Kennedy Center as the chairman of the board of the Kennedy Center. So this is not a sort of like unheard of thing, as the Kennedy Center is like a government arts place thing. And forgive my ignorance because I don't know everything, unfortunately, about the world. Um, but it was very strange because the Kennedy Center is an arts organization, and they have artists of all walks of life come and perform and be a part of the culture of Washington D.C., which one would hope would represent the culture of America, uh, being a sort of self-purported melting pot, what have you. But with Trump in this position now, he said he wants to crack down on drag at the Kennedy Center, which is just fucking stupid. Um, but hey, that's what 50% of people seem to care about is drag queens. So we were there performing Helen Pickett's Crime and Punishment, and it was kind of a fitting ballet for us to be performing because it's this sort of like Robin Hood story about this guy sort of killing this woman who's like ripping off this whole town, like this pawnbroker type of deal. And in our production, the role of this murderer is played by men and women. So on in some of the performances I was in, the lead of the ballet was literally a drag king, which I just thought was like the coolest thing ever, that we happened to be doing uh, drag essentially at the ballet at the Kennedy Center as Trump is taking over as chairman. Um, and also, I just got so many messages from people online before I did a post about it or anything. I got these messages like, how could you guys perform there now? Like, you should cancel. And I'm like, I have a lot of opinions about this because as an artist, like everything I do is pretty genuine, I'd say. And like if I want to subvert or be sort of challenging, I do it. And I think that is more important than staying silent. So for us, I mean, also it's not my frickin' say. Like I can't cancel ABT's engagement with the Kennedy Center. Like I'm not the executive director. I'm not the leader of the board of ABT. I am a principal dancer, yes, and my voice matters to a point, but overall, I'm along for the ride. So please don't think that I have any say in anything. And that's why I enjoy having places like this to share my thoughts and opinions. And, ballet, like all arts organizations, pretty much take money from whomever is willing to give. So, I don't believe ABT is any different than other arts organizations in that we are bipartisan greedy. And, companies like this run on major gifts from big donors. And that's really amazing and important. And I feel really grateful to those people who believe in ballet and see what we're trying to achieve and who we're trying to reach. So that being said, like it's not in my power to like cancel a gig. And also, like, I want everyone's money. I want everyone to give money to ABT regardless of their partisan affiliations. Um, and, that is nuanced and it's complicated and it's kind of sticky because you're like, all right, well, who is it okay to take money from? I don't know the answer to that either. All I know is we have a large operating budget that needs funding. And so we need the money. Uh, okay, I'm really getting into the weeds here. But for me as an artist, I want to go on stage and perform for an audience that might hate me because I want to reach them. And I think it's part of the mission of ABT to reach the widest, not whitest, which is what Trump wants, possible audience. And I am a gay man in in a ballet company, and there are lots of queer people and black and brown people in the company who I don't know, were really struggling this past week to feel okay with performing. And it was complicated. And in the end, I'm really, really glad we all performed. I don't know that I would have been able to perform if Trump himself had arrived on the scene. So I'm grateful that that didn't happen. But yeah, I'm grateful because it showed strength, it showed power. We had a drag king in some of the performances. We were tackling issues about greed and corruption in a ballet, and it just felt really good to sort of band together and say, art inherently actually is political, and we have thoughts and feelings too. Please do not ignore us. We exist. And for me as a gay man, I was like, well, I'm really struggling with this, but my character in the show is a very, very, very slimy, essentially rapist. So what I channeled this week was, the corruption in the government, and all the people who I am struggling to follow. And I really just channeled all of that into my slimy, greedy, corrupt, rapist character. Art made me feel better. So thank you for hanging with us at the Kennedy Center, all of you who came to see us and the people who came to the stage door after and said, thank you for continuing to perform this week. Like, I love supporting the Kennedy Center, but I'm conflicted now. My advice to you is to support the art that you identify with and that that resonates with you. So say they have like Republican McRacist scary comedian come. Maybe don't go see that if your taste and ideals do not align with that. But say the ballet comes, or a singer or a group that you really appreciate and love. Do support those artists, because if we can sort of tell the Kennedy Center what we as the public, the art consuming public, want through our attendance, then I think that's really powerful as well. So, oh God, it was tough. It made me feel really weird. I think the energy was pretty dark backstage, but I'm really proud of how everybody sort of talked to one another and was respectful. And, I guarantee you there are people in the company who were happy about Trump's appointment as the chairman of the Kennedy Center. It is not a blue wash in ballet. So I don't know what to say. I'm sure they're thrilled. Kudos them. So one of my favorite things at the stage door after a performance is people bring my book and they're like, will you sign my book? And I'm like, that's so freaking fierce that you have that here. And it makes me feel really good. But one of the funniest things that happens is a like literal child will be holding my book. And I don't know if y'all have read my book, but it is fully not for children. Like it says on the back of the book, this is not suitable for children. And it's really cute to see these like 7-year-olds with my like smutty, honest book. So way to go, kids. I hope parents out there, if you do get my book for your kids, just like put put it in a closet till they're 18 or like, a teenager at least. Um, okay. Also, when I was in DC, I talked about a gay club like a week or two ago, and there was this like that group who cut in line, whatever. And I'm just like on a manners tear these days because manners seem to have like disappeared. And I was at the gay club with my friends in DC, and there was this woman trying to get out of the bathroom, and she was like just chilling, like totally lovely, and she goes, "Excuse me," like, and she like ducked under some people, and she said to this guy behind me, she was like, "Sorry, pardon." And this like really really drunk boots gay was like, "Oh honey, oh, honey, no, no, no. You do not apologize here. You are welcome here. This is your space too." And she was like, "Oh, thank you. Like I'm just trying to get back to my friends." And he like went on this whole like it was very sweet in intention, but I could tell she was just like, "Please leave me alone, sir. Can you please?" And he went on this whole tangent about like how she was welcome in this space. It was all very sweet, but also terribly cringe. And drunk people, the drunk people in DC hit different. I don't know what it was, but this bar, it was very fun. It was called Bunker, and they were playing like the DJ was clearly a millennial, which I was just gagging for. And we were all dancing, whatever, and they were playing like Christina Aguilera and like God, what else? And like Kylie Minogue. It was great. But I don't know. Everybody was so drunk. I was like, oh, it's spooky. It was giving spooky. And I don't know. I guess New York, I'm used to people like on drugs, maybe. It just like looks a little different. No better, no better. Maybe worse, depending on what the journey is. But yeah, I was concerned for people. So I got another drink. Also, speaking of manners, can we go back to manners? I love manners. I don't think you need to be like a Southern woman to like care about manners. Um, we were in the line. My friends and I were in the line at the bagel shop in DC. It's called Call Your Mother, and it's like a sort of semblance of a Jewish deli, but it's like corporatified. It's very delicious. It has cute branding. But we're in line, and the line is long. It's the weekend. We're like standing outside. The door is going. The door. The line is going outside the door, and the bagel shop is attached to this hotel, this like bougie hotel, and it's a beautiful space, whatever. So we're standing in line, and then the guy behind me is like, there's like a whole group of people who just cut in front of us and are just waiting inside. And I was like, oh, hell to the fucking no. I'm not having this. I opened the door and I was like, the line is out here. And this group of like five people just stood there and looked at me. And I was like, the line is out here. And they didn't move. And I was like, okay, okay. And so I was like, I said to the woman behind the register, I was like, hey, will you let people know how the line works? And she was like, oh, I don't know what's happening. Like, I can't do that. And I was like, oh, okay. I really just sound like Karen Magoo, but sometimes, that's just what it is. So I just let this group of people cut in front of me, and then we get inside, and they're just like all in front of us. And there was a lady behind the counter saying like, oh, like these are hotel guests, and like they didn't know the line went outside. I was like, okay, okay, that's fine. Seething. But if I was told that the line was not where I was standing, I would go stand in the line. It was wild that like this group of people decided that they were just gonna stay cutting, a whole group of like 10 people. It was wild. It was wild. And so I just want to remind everyone, myself included, just to be nice to people and do the right thing. So sorry that my gripe of the week from like 3 weeks ago keeps going on. Guys, what did you do for Valentine's Day? Did you have a Valentine? I don't want to talk about it. I'm shy. Oh, God. Yeah, I don't know about Valentine's Day. I think it's sweet. I don't know. It's confusing because you don't want to feel like you're required to do anything, but then when you do something, it's kind of nice. You know, you can really kind of lean into the romance of it all. Um, I don't know. I think it's sweet. Also, I had an idea. Remember when I was like, "Oh, what are we going to call the question segment of the show?" I want to call it Question Horse. And the reason I want to call it Question Horse is so that, like, I love the idea of like a horse riding into like what I'm calling my recording studio, like with bags of viewer or listener mail. And, in editing this, I'm going to put like a horse sound and some horse hooves or something. So it'll be really fun. I'll be like, what's that sound? It's the question horse. So that being said, let's do some questions. So I have a question from Mrs. Livy B on Instagram. Do you enjoy being a choreographer? Tell us about the studio company piece. Of course, I love being a choreographer. Goodness gracious. I've been making things, since I was a teenager. Um, and yeah, the piece I'm making for ABT Studio Company, actually, I made on Isabella Boylston, Catherine Herlin, and Jake Roxander for the YAGP, what is it, 25th anniversary gala at Lincoln Center. It's a piece called More Than Nothing, which is the English translation of Mas que nada, which is a classic song reimagined by Matthew Whitaker. And he played live on stage. It was really cool. And Studio Company's doing the piece, and they're going to be doing it like through the rest of the year. So you'll be seeing more of it. It's a really fun, jazzy sort of party piece for galas and mixed programs. I like to choreograph things for like an occasion. So I'm like, okay, what does the night need vibe wise? And then make something that sort of inspires me in that vibe. So I knew that Studio Company was going on tour, and I was like, well, they're going to be doing some classics and things like that. So I'd love to give them a little party piece to do. So Sasha, the director, and I were talking about something that they might be able to do, and I thought of More Than Nothing. So check it out. I'll post about it at some point. So that's the tea. All right, another question from the Question Horse. Security Gypsy. Did I say this one yet? Oh, I think this person asked another one the other week. What's been your craziest lift of a ballerina faux pas? Oh my God. Oh my God. Did I talk about this? I might just be repeating myself, but one time Isabella ran at me in Don Quixote in Act Two, and it's the whole like gypsy scene where she runs and she jumps on my shoulder, like in Balanchine's Nutcracker. And I do a little like pirouette, and she turns around and runs at me and just jumps at my shoulder. And she turned the wrong way. You're supposed to like go up, and I just catch her like around the legs on my shoulder. It's not that difficult, to be completely honest, but she turned the wrong way and went over my shoulder, and I grabbed her ankles behind behind my head, and she was just dangling, like doing a decompression moment behind my head. And then I sort of had to roll her off my back. It was terrifying. And this was in a performance. I'm sure everybody on stage and in the audience gasped. So that was pretty terrifying. There was another question about farches. Where is that? I saw it. Where is it? Oh, yeah, here it is. From Abby Hugh Nink on Instagram. Do ballerinas really wear farches that often? All right. Do you know what a farch is? It has nothing to do with flatulence. A farch is a fake arch, and it is like a thing to enhance the arch of your foot to make it look like you have like flexible, bendy, ballet looking feet. Sometimes, and conversely, do you know what a biscuit is? A biscuit is a biscuit. A biscuit is a foot that is not flexible. So it cuts off your line because it's like a brick on the end of your ankle. So people remedy their biscuits with farches. And farches come in all shapes and sizes, but most commonly they're like a silicone piece glued onto a mesh sock type stirrup thing. And it's actually pretty rare for people at this level to wear farches. There are a few, and I must confess that they work well on the people that wear them. They look natural and good to me, at least. And I don't care that they're wearing farches. I don't think it's cheating. Um, I think cheating is like AI. But farches, you still have to be a good dancer, even though you're wearing farches. Just because you put on a pair of farches doesn't mean you should be the lead. You have to be good. You have to have a sense of quality and artistic expression and the technique to boot. So, yes, a couple people wear farches. I don't judge them. More power to them. Do what you got to do. Feel your oats, divas. Feel your oats. All right, final question. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. All right, this is from Benjamin Zwang. What should newer ballet fans be looking for in a performance when watching ballet? Oof. Okay, I don't think they should be looking for anything. I think the biggest mistake of new ballet audiences is feeling like they're not getting it or feeling self conscious, like they should be understanding something that they're not. It is so weird. Ballet is cuckoo. It is so weird. It is so hard to understand. If you don't know the mime in a classical ballet, like if you don't know what the mime for like death or remember means, then you're just like, I don't know. It's like they're moving around, they're waving their arms, like they're pretty, I guess. Um, and I want new ballet audiences to stop judging themselves for not knowing what the hell's going on. I barely know what the hell's going on, and I've been doing this for 20 something years. So I want people to let the experience wash over them, appreciate the beauty and the impossibility of the things happening on stage. Enjoy the live music, enjoy the pretty costumes, enjoy getting dressed up and going into a beautiful space. Have a glass of champagne or a whiskey during the intermission. Like, it's an event and treat it as such and be kind to yourself. If you don't know when to clap, wait till somebody else claps. If you really like something, hoot and holler. It's a choose your own adventure. And I think we often don't want to inhabit spaces that we don't know. So be adventurous and just appreciate what's going on. And you'll know when it's good. You'll feel it. And, unfortunately, not every show is good, but, it's worth an effort. Okay. So we took a bus to DC, and I want to talk about rest stops. I'm really conflicted because I think rest stops are kind of iconic. And there's this one in like Delaware or something that we stopped at, and it has a Burger King, it has a Panda Express, and it has a Popeyes. And I usually go to the Burger King because I like burgers, and I that's usually just what I gravitate toward. But this time I was like, I'm gonna go to Popeyes. Like everyone gags for Popeyes, like it must be incredible. And I got a fried chicken sandwich with this like spicy goo on it and a pickle, and the pickle was fire. I'll give it that. But it was not good. And maybe it was just a bad day for Popeyes, but I was like, I don't know what all the fuss is about. Um, yeah, so sorry to Popeyes. Bye, girl. And then on the way back, they do have a Pret, and I felt really like I had been eating like pizza every day or something, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get something healthy from Pret, and I got a ham and cheese baguette and a cookie. Yeah, I don't know if that's healthy, but at least it's not Popeyes. Um, so one of my friends, who's in the company, his name's Andrew, and he said to me in full seriousness the other day, WAP on Point is my Roman empire. And I don't know if y'all know this, but during the pandemic, me and Bella, aka Cindy, did the WAP, like the WAP dance, like get a bucket and a map, this, etc. I can't sing it; I'm too shy. But we did a point version of the dance, like the WAP dance, in point shoes. And when I think about it now, I cringe so much. Like it is so cringe, but also like kind of iconic, and we ate it up in our way. And we were, at least I hope people didn't think we were taking ourselves seriously. I mean, it was full clown town. But yeah, he brought that up to me, and I thought to myself, wow, we really did some things during the pandemic. The WAP on Point being one of them. I think I'm gonna have to repost that at some point and be like, really, guys, you let me do this? You let me post this? Good stuff. Get a bucket and a mop. That's some wet ass point shoes. Oh, okay. Um, have y'all ever been to the Bitter End? It's a like a music bar in, I guess, Lower East Side, and it's very famous. It's been around for decades, truly decades. And I'd never been. And my brother performs there every once in a while. My brother's a musician, singer, songwriter, plays piano, guitar beautifully, sings like his voice is amazing, and his songwriting skills are crazy. His name is Robbie Gill, and yeah, I went to see him perform last night with my brother and sister, and my nephew, and some family members. It was just so amazing to hear him sing again. It's been a while. Like I don't know, he sort of stepped away from it from like COVID and stuff, and he's been doing more shows as of late. But yeah, this place was so cool. It was such a like dumpy dive, but the it sounded beautiful in there, and like Joni Mitchell has performed there, Lady Gaga, among like bajillions of others that I know nothing about. Being a gay person, it was the when I don't know, being in spaces like that. I'm like, oh, I'm gay, like gay boots down. I just I don't know. I didn't see a gay person in sight. Like everybody was giving like Connecticut adjacent. I don't know. It was just something. It was just something. I was like, oh, I'm gay gay. I'm double gay. Uh, but the music was amazing. I really there were three other performers, and they like swapped songs, so they got to do each other's songs as well. And I thought that was really interesting. Hearing somebody else sing my brother's song, it was just like it was cool. It was a really great thing. So if you like music and you live in New York City, check out Bitter End. It's a dump, but they have great music. Also, like my brother, his name is Robbie, and I should probably like share some of his music or something. I would love to share it with you all. I find it very beautiful, but like I get so emotional um, listening to him play. I don't know. There's something like I feel like it's really layered. So I think he is like so unbelievably talented. Like his songwriting is cuckoo bananas. And when I hear him play live, I'm like so overwhelmed by the sort of pathos and emotion with which he sings. And I also get really angry at the world because, I find him to be such a great talent, and he never really like had a big sort of commercial hit or anything, but he's been playing shows in New York and beyond for like literal decades. So every time I hear him sing, I'm like, how did this not work in a more commercially successful way for him? Like, what's the barrier to entry? How is a person this talented and unique not able to sort of break through? And I get really emotional like on his behalf, but also I'm so proud of his tenacity and his like willingness to just keep making his art. I don't know. It's just I get like really verklempt and just get like teary-eyed the house down. So I really loved seeing him perform again last night. I hope he has more shows soon. Um, yeah, it was really special, and I'm gonna share some of his music on my stories or whatever so that y'all can enjoy it. All right, can we do watching, listening, reading because that might be my favorite thing to do on this podcast. All right, I'm watching Severance season 2. What? It's so great. It's so great. It's on Apple TV. I really, really recommend it. I have not been watching anything else. When I'm on tour, like I don't open like Hulu or whatever. I don't have time for that. But when I got back, I was like, I must catch up on Severance. Gaggy. So gaggy. Also, I don't know, would you do this? Like, would you sever your work self from your, personal life self? I would not do this. I would not elect to do this. And that, I guess, is a privilege and a luxury. I'm currently listening to, oh my goodness, what am I listening to? Oh, I mean, I still have Abracadabra on repeat because I am a gay clown. Let's see. I'm listening to Trixie and Katya's podcast called The Bald and the Beautiful. I've really been chuckling about that. And you should hear Katya talk about Amelia Perez, which I still haven't seen. So my review coming in probably not hot. Also, Cassie, my coworker and bestie, she shared with me this podcast by the New Yorker called Critics at Large. And it's very interesting. I just listened to a whole episode about romantasy, which is a romance fantasy hybrid, and it tends to be in the young adult genre, which, is so timely because this whole week, now that I have off, it's Wednesday, and I'm writing a new book, and it just happens to be in the sort of romantasy young adult genre, and I can't wait to tell you more about it. I'm very like deep in the well, not deep in the writing, but I'm writing it, and it really illustrates to me how little I know of what I'm doing, and just like I feel so ignorant, but I'm super willing to try, and I'm having a great time. And it's fun to write about gay people. So I'm doing that. And yeah, I hope you'll all check it out if it ever sees the light of day, which no promises, but it's worth a shot. So listening to those podcasts, reading, I finished Matilda, adorable. Oh my God. Very, inspiring as I am writing this young adult book. So cute. Oh my gosh. And there are some plot twists in there that I did see coming, but hit nonetheless. And I also started reading a Naomi Novik fantasy novel called A Deadly Education. And I started it very recently, so I can't really tell you much about it other than I'm enjoying it enough. I'm not gripped in a way that I thought I would be from the description and the ratings or whatever, but I might get there. It feels a little tropey to me at some point, but I do like that people are dying left, right, and center. Like, it's so casual about death, which is kind of fun to read in a sort of fantasy novel. And yeah, that's really what's going on there. And I don't know, I got so many sweet little messages about the story about my mom last week. So I thought I would just like continue her story a little bit. Give me 1 second. Chapter 1. In 1948, a Sephardi Jewish man and a British woman had an affair in Spain that resulted in a secret daughter. They decided it was best to put her up for adoption. The daughter was sent to live with a wealthy Protestant couple, Robert and Cora, at their estate in Greenwich, Connecticut, and Robert and Cora named her Nancy Elizabeth White. The family had a large house staff, gardeners, cooks, valets, and maids, the most notable of which was Yeti, a maid who became Nancy's confidant. Cora was a raging alcoholic who was said to have attempted suicide in front of Nancy on 2 occasions. It was much like the game of Clue, Mrs. White in the kitchen with the knife. Yeti the maid had stopped her before she could cut her wrists right in front of her daughter. Cora would play the role of perfect 50s housewife to guests and strangers, and then drink herself into a depressed oblivion. Thankfully, Nancy had her brother, Bruce, who was also adopted, for support. They forged a lifelong bond, vowing to protect each other from Cora's wallops, emotional or otherwise. When things got really bad, Nancy fled to her neighbors, the Bradburys. She spent many of her childhood afternoons learning to cook American cuisine with Mrs. Bradbury. This is where her love of cooking began. It certainly wasn't from seeing her mother cook, what with all the chefs and maids and such. Wealth can breed ineptitude. As a teenager in the beautiful, ostentatious town of Greenwich, Nancy blossomed into a vision of 1960s beauty. She had long black hair that hung down to her waist and a thin, petite frame accessorized with a pair of enormous breasts. Her eyes shone a bright hazel green. She was the American dream. She wore frilly blouses and kept her fingernails long and filed with a scandalous red shellac, highlighting her fine, delicate hands. When she listened to music, she'd close her eyes, twisting and turning her graceful hands in the air and rocking her hips gently side to side. Her joy was so easy at this time that she smiled wide and laughed loud for every photo taken. Her large teeth gleamed in the suburban sunshine as she gossiped with her best friends, the boss chicks, as they named themselves. They smoked cigarettes in profusion and freely passed around bottles of beer. They were the queens of the town, the envy of every American girl, and the lust of every 1960s American boy. One summer, Nancy and the boss chicks met a group of older gentlemen at a bar. Among them was one Patrick Gill. Pat, everyone called him. He was a tall, rakish man, 7 years Nancy's senior. He was happy and quick to laugh with joyful almond eyes. Nancy and Pat began seeing each other regularly, going on civilized mid-20th century dates. They fell in love listening to Bob Dylan records on a portable record player in her family's driveway. Fresh, innocent romance. Nancy's parents, the Whites, were not pleased with this new union. Pat's father was a Portuguese house painter, and his mother had once been the nanny to George Bush Sr., but Nancy had a way of making people see things her way. She was always the boss. She was smart, wily, unstoppable. She used her vulnerability to connect with people and draw them to her side. And she was undeniably cool, the very definition of charismatic. When she discovered she was pregnant, she knew she might be pushing her freedom. She was 18 and unwed, and it was the 1960s. So she and Patrick were wed immediately, and she gave birth to her first of 5 children, Peter. The happy couple built a house from the ground up on Hillcrest Lane in Old Greenwich. It was the envy of the town and as chic as they come. Patrick began law school, while Nancy stayed home. They were young, beautiful, and rich, on track to becoming the perfect American family. For years, Nancy and Patrick were invincible. They decided to open a bar in Port Chester, New York, as the drinking age was 18 there and 21 in Connecticut, and they wanted a place to party with all their friends. They named the bar the Stumble Inn, and it became the Good Time Place. Every rich teenager from Greenwich brought their parents' cash to the bar and danced and drank themselves into a stupor to the tunes of the Doors and the Rolling Stones. Nancy and Patrick were making money hand over fist and reveling in their good fortune. They had 2 more children, Melissa and Robert, rounding out their perfect nuclear family. Nancy was a child mother navigating the elusive maze of growing up. Like Cora before her, she played the part of the consummate Greenwich housewife. White Christmases, crystalline dinners, precious Easters, and polished silver. And that's enough for today. Thanks for joining me on the stage Rightside. Until next time, don't forget to rate the podcast. And if you want, you can donate directly to the podcast via the show notes below. And that'll help me like upgrade equipment. And I want to get another mic so that I can have guests not on one mic. So thank you for listening and have a beautiful week. Bye.